Hi, Barry. Wonderful to be here today.
Thank you.
I saw the film and it's such a wonderful, tender story about this young love, but in the context of this oppressive, racist society, and you have this duality. But you made the decision not to have a bad guy in it. Why did you go down that storytelling route?
To me, I just wanted to present a very clear depiction of who these characters are, what their lives are like, and also to make a statement, to point out the fact that the bad guy, if there is one, is the system that we all participate in, going through society, whether passively or actively acknowledging the problems that exist. This book was published 45 years ago, and yet so much of it is still very relevant to today. Why is that? It's because if there was a bad guy, that bad guy would have passed. But I think the system, I guess in this case of American society, the judicial system, the legal system, is clearly designed to disenfranchise the lives and souls of Black folks. And if there is a bad guy, that is the bad guy. Yeah.
James Baldwin was very much, of course, an artist, a writer, novelist, but he was also an activist. Do you think, as an African American in particular, that it's important that artists take on that mantle?
I do and I don't. I think it's important to acknowledge, one, the role we play, both as symbols, as people who create art that definitely has to exist within the culture and that indirectly or directly affects it. And yet I feel like my prerogative is to be an artist first, and that's to me to have to do due diligence as a creator, but also to have respect for people who are legitimately activists.
And in terms of you as the writer, the director, I'm really curious in the duality of that as well, and how you manage it. I know that you often come to Europe to seclude yourself and write, but is there ever a fight between the writer and the director, or is it always the prose?
No. It's definitely, it's kind of like a blessing and a curse to be both the writer and the director. Oftentimes, the director is relying on the writer to fix it. The writer will fix it, or the writer goes, the director will fix it. And so it's interesting to do the intellectual work to always make sure there's a very clear line between the two. I think the blessing in that, though, is sometimes I'm writing a certain thing and I don't understand what I'm writing, but if I can see it, that can always be the way in. And so coming over here, whether it's like London or Berlin or Brussels, where I wrote Moonlight, I wrote Beale Street in Berlin, but I've also come here a few times to write as well. It's nice to be able to go into that place where the writer and the director can sit down at a bar and just have a very civilized conversation about who gets to rule which scene when.
Congratulations on your Oscar nomination.
Thank you.
It was wonderful to see it yesterday. And obviously you've won before. Do you think we are past the Oscars so white phase or moment?
I don't know that we're past it so much. I think what that means is expanding, because I think there could have been a version of Oscar so white that was also so Oscar so male, or Oscar so gender conforming, or Oscar so straight. I think the progress that we've made, this is a year where, both Beale Street, BlacKkKlansman, Sorry to Bother You, Black Panther, all these films have been very actively in the conversation. That's progress for sure, but I think we have to be diligent about looking 3 years from now, 5 years from now, is there still progress? I saw a stat that said myself and Spike Lee are the only two Black screenwriters who've ever been nominated more than once for a screenplay Oscar. And for Spike, his first nomination was Do the Right Thing, which was like 30 years ago, and now BlacKkKlansman. So, where's the actual progress? We can't be the only two Black writers in the history of cinema who've written screenplays that are worthy of this distinction. So, yeah, we got to keep our eyes on the ball and keep checking in every few years to see if these hashtags or these other things are ready to be buried.